Welcome to this premium guest interview in this edition of the House of Preeminence. We are going in a slightly different direction today with a whole different kind of transformational leader. Now, when I met my guest today, I was excited from an aspect that he could help all of the people who are, all the entrepreneurs who are turning up live on stage, on a virtual stage every day, all over the world, because his work is the voice. And so many entrepreneurs are trying to perfect their techniques of presenting and speaking. And then when I talked to our guest today, I discovered that actually there's a whole science and art and philosophy behind the voice that I hadn't even considered. And we are going to explore that for you today and why it is so crucial in the context of what's happening in the world to open to the importance of your voice. And it is my great pleasure to introduce you to a celebrity, one of the world's most loved and famous voice coaches, Anthony Wade, known as Dr. Voice. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening before we even start.
So, as I said, when I first met Doc, I thought what I wanted him to be able to share was like techniques for speaking, being present, showing up, how to do your lives. And this wonderful man has so much more wisdom and incredible ideas to share with you. He is also a philosopher. He's a transformational leader, an accredited transformational leader, a relationship coach, and many, many other things as well. So I would love you to share your story, Doc, so we can come full circle back to why we're talking about this subject now.
Yes, well, basically, I think for most people, most of you listening and watching, most of us don't even take into consideration our voice. We assume as we talk, that's who we are. We assume the sound that we are making is our personality, is who we've become, and that's final. And we carry this voice through our life, not discovering what really is our voice about. And the first thing is to ask that question to all of you. What's your voice for? Who does your voice belong to? That's the first thing you'll ask. Who does your voice belong to? Now, most people, I will answer it for you rhetorically. Most of you say, well, me, it's my voice. Wrong. Your voice doesn't belong to you. Your voice is in mono. And when it comes out of you in mono, not stereo, mono, it's transferred to other people who hear you in stereo with their two ears. So right from the outset, life, nature, God, whatever you want to believe in, is designed you, that when you make sound, it's for everyone else but you. So the sound you make is for everyone else. It's designed that way so they can hear you. And so what we don't realize, that's why the purpose of our voice is to come up and to come out and to make sound so others can be affected, or others can hear us, our message, a story, or whatever it is. Then why are we not concerned about how that comes out? What's the delivery of that from you? No one's concerned. And yet, if the planet ended tomorrow, if the Martians went up into space and the planet was no longer, and there was this satellite, and the Martians are open the satellite, what they're going to hear? Ich fight Spiegel, Hitler. I have a dream. We'll fight him on the beaches. The Beatles, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Obama, every worldly, most of the information will come to us through sound. Because if they just had it visually, they wouldn't know what they were saying, the Martians. But they wouldn't. You would hear, they could have a visual, but the sound of what did we sound like? What was our remit? Who were we? Why were we here? That's our only thing we've got to leave this planet with. If the planet was to end, well, just think about that for a minute. Then start looking at the question, is our voice important? Does our voice matter? And that's the point. We've escaped that and gone into ourselves, into the thinking world, into the concepts and beliefs of who and what we are and what we do and how we do it. And living in that world, we're wondering why we have pain in our life. We're wondering why we get stressed in our life. We're wondering why our life doesn't work sometimes, because most of the concepts, ideologies, and thought processes that we have on a daily basis are normally dealt with in a stressful way. It's all, oh, should I do that? Oh, no, let's do that. Oh, no, I've got to make it. Oh, what about this? And it's stress, working out, trying to do this, trying to do that. When who we really are is sitting in the middle of that, going, what about me? Who we really are, the real us, is watching that. We're at the mercy of our mind and what it's saying consistently to everyone. We are sitting in the back seat while the mind runs our life. Now, when you do voice work, that stops. That stops. When you work with your voice, your sound, you're not in the back seat anymore. You're with you, because your voice is the soundtrack to your life. It's the echo of who you really are. Because when you were born, you took a breath. And then, wah, 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 64 muscles ringing out to the universe saying, I'm here, I'm alive, wah, right? So powerful. And the connection between that little baby and its breath became one in the spirit, one in itself, in its energy level. For me, spirit is energy level. To get away from any concepts of God or ideologies that people get lost in, it's energy. We all have energy. And this lovely little creature, a baby with its energy, is crying out with the sound of its own voice, and it can hear it, and it's feeling it, and it's experiencing in its voice as it's wailing out. It's the first experience we all had, was the sound in our voice. And it's the last thing the Martian's going to hear up in space of our existence. So how important is voice, and how much do we give it any attention? Not much. Some of us may be speakers, some of us may be speakers on stage, some of us may be DJs. I talk to many DJs, many radio interviewers, and I'm into my voice, and they are into their voice in as much they're trying to make it sound, have its musicality and what have you. But when you confront them and say, are you into your voice in who you really are? Oh no, this is just a job. So there's a demarcation there, that it's who you really are is sitting in the sound of the energy of who you are. And what I do, I take people into that place. I take people back to the original sound in your body to who you are. And when a person feels that, this is the result you get. I wish I had a tape to show you. This is the result you get. It's not me. It doesn't sound like me. It sounds like someone else. Oh my God, it's so pure, it's so different. Because they start to realize the sound they're making doesn't belong to the mental self or to the persona. The sound belongs to the essence of this universe itself, which is in a pure tone. It's a pure tone. I can go on for a minute and I don't need to take a breath. I didn't want to go on too long because you probably thought your radio was going, the sound was gone wrong. But basically, that sound is a pure tone in the center of our being. That's the same sound that the earth is making when it spins. And the incredible thing about sound, this is what we don't understand about what sound is. It is so in tune with nature. It's so in tune with the real energy of this existence. It's not funny. But so if we are not in tune with our sound, we're not in tune with our truest self. We're in tune with our thinking. We're in tune with our concepts. And I remember one time my dearest friend and guru, Prem Powell, said once, it was quite amazing when he said it, he said this, he said, when you have a concept, when you have a belief, when you're in your mind and you're in concepts and beliefs, you're asleep. You are asleep. Because who you are is not the concepts and beliefs. Who you are is very much awake. And who you are lives in the center of your breathing mechanism, which is married to the voice. So when I introduce people to their voice, I'm introducing them to the wife of the husband. The husband may be the breath, but the wife is the voice. And I'm introducing you to that relationship, because without that on your side, when you speak, when you sing, without you understanding it, meaning standing under, comes from the word understand, stand under, be humble to listen, to feel what your voice is, get ready to experience your voice, rather than just, oh, I talk and that's me, isn't it? Anyway, and carry on talking and being in your personality. So it's a simple thing to do, but when you do it, you feel it. And when you feel it, this is when you start to, there's this experience of, oh my God, why do I feel so free? And most of you may feel this when you sing. Some of you might go, la 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 dee, and just singing away or something, and you feel so good. Remember, in the war, they'd sing, "Onward, Christian soldiers." Why? Why was it singing? Because it would lift the energy up. And now science has proved that using the voice in a singing-like fashion brings your energy level up. Listen, energy level, the spirit of who you are, by 33%. Your happiness level grows. Now, you don't see someone, unless they're a psychopath, of course, you don't see someone whistling and singing away when they're not happy. Probably if it's someone that's chopping someone up or doing something crazy, but actually they might be happy they're doing that. But the point is, it is something about that. And this used to happen. I remember seeing my father get on a bus in the mornings at 7 o'clock, and he'd go, right, that's it. And he'd get everybody singing on the bus. And it was mad. Everybody be singing on their way to the station. And it just lifted the bus and the energy up. It made a congregation of warmth. Why do we go to church? Why do we want to hang out with people that sing? Why do we go to concerts? Because there's a culmination of people coming together for a one-pointed experience of being with sound. Let's take that another step forward and look at a caveman in a cave, and he looks on the wall, and there's thousands of people in an audience, and on the stage there's a person with a microphone and a light behind them, and it may be a picture of Beyonce or Sam Smith. It may be someone up there just performing, and thousands of people looking up at this stage with that person with a light behind him with a microphone. The caveman, what is he going to think? He's going to think, that's a god. The person on the stage is a god. Why would he think that? Because that person is making sound and affecting the change of thousands of people in that environment, in the picture. So when that happens, when you see that happening with people, you start to realize the voice is a very powerful instrument. I'm not sure whether this is gone off now. Hello. Did we get?
There we go.
So when this caveman could see Beyonce on the stage and an audience of thousands of people, what does he think? He thinks, that's a god. Why? Because that person's making sound. That's how powerful sound is. In fact, life, society, rewards Beyonce with more money than you and I could ever imagine because she makes sound. Why? Because the center of the universe, the center of every single thing that happens in this whole entire planet and beyond, is sound in the middle of it. First, we got the primordial vibration, which is the thing which is keeping us alive, our breath. Oh, and the imagination of this amazing omnipresent God force, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter, but it's an energy which is keeping everything alive. It's keeping that light on. If I put my finger in my stomach, I'd burn my finger. Why would I burn my finger if I cut my stomach open, put my hand in? Not burn it, but it'd be warm or hot in there. Why would it be hot and warm in my belly? Because I'm vibrating. I'm not plugged into the wall, but the primordial vibration, life force itself, is keeping me alive. This is the brain of this extraordinary, infinite, powerful thing called life. And it's vibrating everything. And I asked the question, if this is its brain, what's its heart? And then it hit me. The vibration of sound is the heart of the universe. And to prove that, I didn't prove it. I saw a TV program where they were discussing the sun. And in the sun, it was burning, and the camera goes in on the sun. The scientists put the camera on the sun, and you see the whiplashes of fire coming out from millions of them per second. And each whiplash comes out 200 miles. Each whiplash of fire, which is the thing we used to draw when we were children, a little star around the sun. We put this little star around it. And this whiplash of fire coming out, they say is equivalent to 10,000 atom bombs being produced from the center of 1,000,000 degrees heat in the middle of the sun. And they said, well, there's this elements in there that's creating that sun to boil, to burn, is hydrogen, and this phonic thing which hits the hydrogen and makes it happen. These beams, phonic beams. And they were trying to work out what it is. And they all came to the conclusion, the scientists, that what is making this hydrogen move towards the beam to make the explosion, make the lava happen, to make the sun disperse and give it its energy and heat and power, is sound. The vibration of sound. again. So we make sound. How conscious are we of that?
Can I ask you a little question there, Doc?
Yes.
There's this popular expression. I think it's actually even in a song. Is if a tree falls in a forest and there's nobody there to hear it, does it actually make a sound?
Yes. Right. So what gives me the intelligence or the verbalization of what I'm saying? What gives me the opportunity to mention this? My own life, my own existence. So I can make sound. So only when you're alive can you hear us. This is what's so beautiful about there's no proof whatsoever. Come on, let's face it. There's no proof whatsoever that we can say categorically, unless there's all these stories and ephemeral concepts and beliefs about it. But there's no real concept or belief that we could possibly hold that can prove that God exists. Only by the fact that we're alive can we say that. The fact that we're alive gives us the opportunity to express the fact that we are alive. And therefore, something is giving us existence. Now, if I didn't exist, I couldn't say there's such a thing as God. So the fact I breathe and walk, I can say, oh, look, there must be something. Okay, then let's not call it God. The scientists are arguing about it all day long. Richard Dawkins, all these famous people talking about no such thing as God. No, okay, but there is such a thing as your next breath, and there's such a thing as the energy in your body, and you can scientifically work all that out and prove it, and that's the truth. And people say it's the brain that's making it all happen. However, it still comes from who we are inside, is the essence of the real part in ourselves. And when we can feel that, and it's a feeling, it is not a thought. So this is why scientists don't get it. I don't feel that. I don't have that feeling. I don't have that imagination. I don't have that. You know, they can't conceptualize because it's a feeling. You have to stop your mind. You have to stop your beliefs, reserve all your concepts to listen to yourself, to listen to sound in you. When you can listen to yourself and your sound and be with that when you speak, you will be in the moment. You can't be anywhere else. You're not in the future or the past, you're in the moment. You can only make sound in the moment. You can record it later and listen to it earlier, but you can only make the sound now. So I want everybody at home now listening to this, I want everybody to take a breath in. I want everybody to go, oh, come on, let's all yeah. Did you hear that? You're making sound. That's happening in the moment. That didn't happen yesterday or after you made it, unless you're going to make a sound after. In the moment, you make sound. So if you make the moment, in the moment you make sound, then doesn't it make sense to be with your sound? You will be in the moment.
So many people are just totally disconnected from their voice because they've just take it completely for granted.
Yeah, but they're not in the moment. They're everywhere else but. But when you take a breath in, everybody take a breath in, you can feel that as it enters your lungs, can't you? You can feel, if you do it properly, which is into your belly, take your two hands like a plunger onto your stomach, pull it out, breathing through the nose only, and it will fill your belly up. By doing that, you can feel that going through the nose down into the belly. Blow the air out, stomach comes in. Let's do that again. Everybody try that at home. Pull the plunger out, stomach comes out, breathing in through the nose at the same time. feeling your stomach fill up with air. What you are doing when you do that process, you are being in the moment. You have to be there to do it. You can't. It's like driving a truck. You you've got to be in the moment, otherwise you crash it. Driving a car, you'll crash it if you're not in the moment. So being with your breath puts your whole being into the moment. And my question to most people is this: we have 750 breaths in an hour. How many are we with? How many are we experiencing in the moment with ourselves? And to me, when you speak consciously, which is what I teach, to speak consciously means first to have the experience of your breathing mechanism come into merging with the sound that you make. And when you speak, each word will have a bow around it. Each word will be like a present to the stereophonic ears of a person listening, rather than you just gobbling out a load of mind stuff, gobbling out a load of concepts and belief systems coming from a space within you. You can still talk about extraordinary things when you're with your breath and your voice. This is what I teach people when they stand on stages. Um, uh, uh, I've had some great speakers in the world standing up, and when they learn to speak consciously, they say it's just amazing. It's not like me. I don't feel I'm doing anything. What's happening? The voice, they can feel it come out. They see it, and they see it hitting the ears of people, and they can feel that they're just surrendered to the sound in them. Now, if you're a talker and you're on stage, you've got to be well rehearsed. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place. So if you're well rehearsed, even better, because in your rehearsal, now you just add this added thing, which is consciousness to the sound you're making. Oh, then it really hits home. One of the ways that I tried this one time was when I was in an audience of 180 people, and I said to them, say good evening, how are you to each other, and get into couples, and they all did this. I said, now I want you to say good evening, how are you, but I want you to take a deep breath into your belly like this. I've got to do this. And I want you to say, from there, how are you? You having a good evening, with that space inside you. Just do that to each other. And this is all I did. And the audience, they all did it. And you remember, oh, Gabriel, it's right. Anybody tell me what happened? Hands were going up. Oh, it was so sincere. It felt real. It felt like he really meant it. It felt this. And it was so amazing. When I saw this effect, I then asked the woman in the front row who I could see. I said to her earlier, Madam, you look really beautiful tonight. I must say you look amazing. And that's all I said very quickly. And then I went back to her and I did that. Madam, you look really wonderful tonight. You look amazing. And I said it with the breathing and the consciousness of me making that sound. She sat there and she started to cry. And then, do you mind if I? And she said, no, not at all. So I said, ladies and gentlemen, the lady's crying at the front row, but I'm going to ask her a question. Why are you crying, madam? She's, when you just said to me a minute ago, oh, madam, you look really amazing tonight. You look really wonderful. It was like, oh yeah, in your dreams. I thought, what's she talking about? Didn't mean anything to me. But when you just said it then, it was like the first time anybody's ever said it to me in my life. And it got to me. Hello? Because I was with my sound when I said it. That's sincere. That's being in the moment. That's being real. And most people, I find, in the talking world are not attuning to this. They give off information here, give off information there. And that's why they say there's 4 types of speakers in this world. You've got the information givers, and they give out a load of information. Then you've got the motivational speakers who motivate you to feel you want to do something. Then you've got the inspirational speakers that makes you inspired to be more there with them. And then you've got the transformational speakers who actually give you an experience in the moment while you're there of the thing he's talking about. And so normally the transformational things are finding ways to be more conscious of their sound and their message. And therefore it's becoming more apparent and powerful for them. Now, to me, that passion, that information or that knowledge or that message that person's giving, if it's just blah, 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 it's not going to hit many ears. But if it's clear and it has passion and it's got pitch, rhythm, dynamics to it, it's got a volley of colors around it, based on you being present with it, everyone's going to get it. And that's the other thing, which I think is important, is to teach people the elements of speech. It's the same as the elements of singing. If I wanted to sing something, I'm going to sing with no elements, right? This is singing with no elements. I know every time I go away. That's all right. There's no dynamics in that. But when I go into my elements, into the power of what the voice does, I know every time I go away. It's a different experience because I'm going inside the elements of my vocal. So in your voice, when you speak, we have elements that we don't practice. So it comes out from our natural speaking voice, which we think is natural, but actually it belongs to our parents. It belongs to someone we've copied. And so what we do, we copy someone else's voices when we're a child, a significant other or a peer or a parent. And when we grow up, we're walking around with their voice. And that's why when we get confronted, people say, you get embarrassed because of when someone confronts you, because it's like, oh dear, I'm not being myself. It's only because you're not being yourself do you feel embarrassed, because you're playing someone else's tape. You're playing the sound of someone else.
So is that a biological, genetic thing that we inherit?
It's what we've practiced.
Right. So it's not actually inherited vocal same sort of vocal cords as our parents. It's actually what we've been listening to since we first came out.
And we've copied it.
Wow.
Everything we copy. As a child, we copy everything. We copy. So it's all about copying. So what we've done, we've created an identity of the characteristics of the person we're copying, and we're carrying that characteristic of that identity into our own persona, into our life, and we use that to do business, to speak, to be, to love, to do all the things we do, and it's not who we really are. It's someone else that you've copied. The only time it's who you really are is when you're in consciousness. And that's what I'm talking about. Being in consciousness with your sound. Now you're you. You're not anyone else. And people can feel it. As opposed to, I might never. See, I had a guy phone me up today. Hello, Miss Wade. I want to come to you for some singing lessons. And he spoke like that, I said, okay. And my son wants to come as well. I said, okay, no worries. So next when the phone rings, hello, Miss Wade. Yeah. I said, yeah. I just put the phone down. No, I'm his son. I want to come for some singing lessons. It's slightly different tone, but it sounded like the same person. And I thought, oh my God, it's and it's just a copying. And so we've copied so many things that are not real to who we really are.
Oh my goodness.
Who are we? Please. And that's why when I confront people, I've had all sorts of people in front of me, from from uh, people that run companies, what's his name, astronauts, all sorts of people in front of me, right? Oh, there's big stars, people, and you ask them, who are you? Well, I'm a singer. No, who are you? Oh, well, I'm an astronaut. No, that's what you do. Who are you? And everybody has to sit and think. I'm this person that some people come up with very clever answers. I'm the sum total of every bit of experience I am in order to express what I am at the moment. And it's a great answer, but it's not who he really is. Who you really are is the silence and power of your next breath. And what sound it will make. That's who you are. And when you shave away the concepts and the belief systems of who you think you are and what you think you are, you're left naked with the sound of who you are, which is what happens when I do my what I call immersion days, where I take people, and you're talking about this hybrid thing. In an immersion day, I've realized when a person has an immersion day with me, I affect all the areas of their life because their voice is in relationships, their voice is with their children, their voice is with their business, their voice is in their persuasion, their voice is in everything they do in their life, their voice is being utilized in. I deal with in an immersion day. So in the immersion day, that's why sometimes I have to be sort of skilled that when someone's in an immersion day and they're having that it comes up. You can't help it because the truth of who they are needs to come out in the immersion day. It has to. I can't let them leave the room without them seeing or feeling the truth of who they really are in their existence. And when they see that, and I see that, we see there's issues and problems. They start saying, yeah, well, it's at home, my wife and I'm going for it. Okay. So the next minute, then we go into a relationship, healing, therapy. And I have the skills and knowledge to help them do that. Overcome. I've saved many marriages and relationships. When a person turned up for a singing lesson in an immersion day, or they just want to be a great singer, I've found out in their other part of their life is completely screwed up. What's the point in being a great singer if your rest of your life is screwed up? And this is what I say to all my pupils. I'm not a singing teacher. I'm an artist developer. You come to me to get your mind straight, to be able to create your life to be the way you want it to be. And you can't sing, you can't let go of your voice, you can't be in your true self if you've got all these other things eating you alive. So in immersion day, I deal with all those things that are eating a person alive with the most powerful thing that, and once we get that out of the way, it's incredible the sound that person makes. The freedom that they take on then is something else. It's just, I am, I feel emotional now because it's one of the most purest and beautiful experiences to watch a human being discard all their past and become who they really are in their sound in front of me.
I have to admit, I was getting emotional a few minutes ago because I was connecting with that possibility. This is just blowing my mind because somebody who thinks I know myself is just like, oh well, actually, I think there's a whole new level here for everybody. Did you see? I just got completely emotional, and I can see exactly what the power of this and the magic. It must be magic when you do that with people.
You have no idea. I go home in my flat and I sometimes cry myself to sleep. I cry myself to sleep knowing that I've seen a person completely release pent up, locked up experience of who they are when you know and it's not the all cure American roadshow. I don't profess to be that, but it's an indication where I can take them to another place where they can start breathing and being freer in who they are, and then start discovering what they really want to see happen for them in their life. Some people come to me, want a singing lesson, and actually, one girl, she came to me, I want to be like Madonna. I said, right, okay, sing for me. And it was terrible. And I thought, okay, you want to be like Madonna? Yeah. So when I started doing singing lessons with her, we started to uncover this other part in her. I found that she was beaten up as a child. She was thrown under a table as a little girl by her stepfather, was abused. All these terrible things had happened to her. And and why she wanted to be like Madonna was because of one song Madonna sang, which was "Express Yourself." She just loved that song because that made her feel that's what I've got to do. So she came to me thinking she wants to be like Madonna, when in fact she wanted to express herself. So what happened? I removed all her blocks through the singing lessons, and she went off to become a famous actress in Germany. That's what she really wanted. And she found her vocation in that way. So it was like, wow, that's when I started to realize the work I'm doing is multifaceted. When a person comes in here, they want to sing, they want to be great. They might want to get their voice to go, they might want to be a rock singer up the top end of the voice. They might want to, whatever it is they want. That's potential in any human being, because our voice is an orchestra. It can do all these amazing things, but we're locked in one area. Hello, all right, yeah, but this is me. Thank you very much. And some people stay there. Well, I'm sorry, that's me. Thank you. Bye. It's like, what? That's not you. You're something else. You're something more grandiose. You are the incredible God in yourself. You are this extraordinary, powerful, infinite being sitting inside there. The thing that makes the sun exist is sitting inside you. And we're worried about our gas bill. This is extraordinary. This extraordinary thing is keeping us alive. It just loves us to bits and wants us to be free. And that's why when people come to me, only come when they're ready. I don't just see anybody. People come because they're ready to want to really take a step forward into who they are in their sound, remove lots of blocks and lots of iniquities that are going on in every human being on the earth. It's sad, and yet it's not, because for me, it's a joy, because I'm able to unlock some things which makes it like accessible to them to become more closer to the harmony of themselves. And then the harmony of every human being, there is sound. It's simple. It's sound. And how I knew this was because, and for anybody out there would say, oh yeah, well he's probably been a natural singer and he could sing, and he's Dr. Voice. He's done. Oh no, let's start that again. When I first started singing, nine, I couldn't hear a note. I didn't know what voice was. I didn't know what sound was. And it wasn't until I was on the ship coming to Australia, I fell in love with this Duchess on the boat. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and we were in love. And I wanted to impress her more than anything at 17 years old, ego, and her dad owned the shipping line. He was at dinner, and all sitting at dinner, 2,000 people in the audience. And I was asked, would I like to get up and sing? I didn't know I couldn't sing. And I said, yes, of course, because I'd been brought up in music all my life. It was around me. And I thought, I can sing. So I stood up in front of the mic. What's the song? Dream a dream, dream. Oh, dream a dream. As soon as I started singing, out come this Chewbacca sound. And everybody, look, she put her head down. The father's laughing just to say, "What are you doing with this gink?" And I went and put myself in the cabin for the rest of the journey and decided I'm never going to sing or do this again. This is horrible. Or it was more like, why can't I sing? My brother was a fantastic singer. He was in Jesus Christ Superstar, played the part of Jesus on Broadway. My family were all musical. I wasn't. Nah, what's going on? Why can't I make sound? And when it was on, I was in Australia at 21 years old, I had the opportunity to meet the Bee Gees. And there I am in a room with Morris Gibb of the Bee Gees, and he's sitting there and he unfolds his life to me. About 18 hours. And I'm sitting there like this. I'm about 21. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just listening to him. He split up with Lulu, all the pain he's had in his life, and this, that, and the other. And it was like an extraordinary journey he took me on. And he looked at me like a little boy and said, "Thank you. You're the only person ever that's listened to me in my life, in my whole life." He was going. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes." And he hugged me. And, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Well, it's okay, you know." Anyway, the next minute, they're on stage in front of 33,000 people at Subiaco Oval in Perth, and he only gets me on the stage to sing with them. And I'm on the side of the stage. "No." So you'll come up and say, "No, I can't sing." It don't matter about that. And anyway, so I got the mixing guy to turn the mic off. So stay alive, because I'll be doing aye. It'll be terrible. So, and there's 33,000 people. And I can't believe this is happening to me. I look like the Bee Gees. I had long hair and everything. So when I come off stage, I was signing autographs because everybody thought I was one of the Bee Gees. Went back to the hotel room. Mungo Jerry's there. "Oh, you're in the Bee Gees, aren't you?" He had a song in the charts. "In the summertime when I said, "Oh, yeah. No, I'm not in the Bee Gees." He said, "But you were great. I saw you." I said, "No." "You don't understand." And he said, "Look, mate, it's all I know. You should do it." "What?" He said, "You should do it." "But I can't." He said, you got to do it." So that was it. The next day, I bought a guitar and I was bending metal in a factory as a job. Bee Gees left Perth. I was back to bending metal in a factory. And then this guy looking at me says, "Do you see the Bee Gees on telly?" He showed me a photograph of Barry Gibb getting in the limousine. He says, "Barry Gibb." I said, "That's not Barry Gibb. That's me." It's the back of my head. But I couldn't tell that guy that. But it was me getting in the limousine going back to the hotel. So the funny thing was that energy of seeing that potential that I could do this made me go on the path of looking for my voice. This is when I began. Why can't I sing? I developed techniques. So most singing teachers, most top voice coaches worldwide, all bob up and down on the ocean of the voice. They're all on top of the ocean, teaching everybody how to sing because they're all great singers themselves. They had a natural ear, a natural ability to sing, and they're telling and teaching everybody else on top of the ocean of the voice. I decided I can't do that. So I went to the bottom of the ocean of the voice and I found some pearls and I built a ladder. And each rung of this ladder was this technique, the central sound beam, the Dunning technique, that technique. And these different techniques of how to get the voice in operation came to be. And then I saw Adele wasn't using one of these things. She's going to destroy her voice in 9 months. So I let them know and they told me to mind my own business. In 9 months, she lost her voice. Then I realized I've developed this wisdom and understanding of the voice that perhaps other singing teachers or vocal coaches hadn't got to that understanding because they didn't get to the depth of it. And then I started to get people who couldn't speak, get their voices back, people that have been to laryngologists, people that have been to speech therapists. They're told never to talk again. They come to me, I'll get them talking in an hour. I don't know why. It just happens. It's just something magical happens. I've got people who are deaf, people that had cerebral palsy, getting them singing beyond their wildest imagination because I'm passionate about seeing the change in a person, the transformation in a person. And if I can transform a voice, I've transformed an energy that can affect millions of people, which is what I did with Sam Smith, who stands on audiences with thousands of people in front of him, affecting their lives, touching their hearts with the tones and the musicality, which is, to me, God's work, which is, to me, the harmony of this universe. Loves sound. It loves music. And I love Alan Watts' take on this, the philosopher. He is a great philosopher. Alan Watts said in the 1920s, or whenever it was, he said, I've decided there's no purpose to this universe at all. There's no purpose to the universe. He says, it's too chaotic. So why have we got a purpose? He says, it's simple. He says, all he's seen and understands is the universe just is chaotic, and it dances and sings in a chaotic way. That's what the universe does. And that's our nature. And we shut it down because we believe this and believe that and think this and think that. Think. It's all think. No feel. Coming into the world of feeling is so important for us human beings now. Look at those people in the war. Look at those people when they're interviewed today. Those I saw it on television, the Nazis shooting these innocent Jewish people into the ground, shooting. And then you ask them after, no, it had to be done, didn't it? Where was the feeling of humanity in that? Is that where we want to go? We want to go towards that numbness again? That came, I'm sorry to say this, but I believe the Holocaust was a gift to humanity to wake us up. And it came at a time when the atom bomb was rife, so it soon stopped that. So now, are we going to be numb, or are we going to start to feel our existence? And to start doing that with your sound is potentially powerful and available to do. It's easy to do. When you start waking you up in your sound, in your voice, in your persona changes. It changes. You know, I gave a singing technique to 2 teachers in a school. And the headmaster said, can you help them, Doc? They can't control the class because the class is going all over the place. They're just throwing things out the window and the kids are not listening to them, right? They're all on social media. They don't give a damn. And I gave a singing technique. I worked these guys' voices for 2 weeks. So they started to accrue this energy in their sound. When they walked into the class, they didn't sound any louder. They didn't push their voice. They didn't do anything. They just go with their natural selves. But standing there was this extraordinary, powerful presence in them they garnered from the voice work. And it shut the class up. The headmaster phoned me 2 weeks later. What did you do to these guys? They're listening to him. The teachers now. What did you do? I said, just a little singing technique. Yeah, but what? It brought such presence to them. And that's why I said this to an occupational therapist. I had 90 women in a room at this occupational therapist event. And I asked them this question. They deal with children from about 5 up till 12 years old. And the question I asked them was, do you get any of your children to stand up in front of everyone else and speak out or read out loud? No one did it. Right, I said, you've just stopped and prevented human beings from being who they really are. You've just locked them in their shells. Because when you can stand up at a very young age, it's a scientific proof that your cerebral cortex is attached to your larynx at that time in a different way. And when you go, I know that and you're calling out something with your cerebral cortex attached to your larynx, and you are hearing the power of your voice going out to everyone else, even though you're being told to speak up, and you're doing it as much as you may be fearful and not enjoying it, you're actually pushing through a boundary in your persona, and you've just created a potential world leader. You've just created a potential person who has a voice in society. You don't do that, you shut them down. And this happened when I was at dinner with Ruby Wax, a famous actress, comedian, and was sitting there, and a guy come up to me and he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a voice coach." He said, "Oh." He said, "Oh, well, he said, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I change people's voices. Take Richard Branson, for instance. Richard Branson, incredible guy. What an amazing man. What he's done for the world is amazing. But I believe he could have affected the world 300% more than he did with voice work." And they went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, because he's very timid, very quiet. In fact, people walk out of his talks sometimes so they can't hear him. He's too shy. He's too quiet. He was like one of those children that didn't have a chance to speak up, whatever it was. But either way, that's his effect." And he said, "Shall I call him?" And he went to call him on the phone. I went, "What?" He says, "He's got his British and French in his phone." And I said, "No." And his girlfriend grabbed the thing and said, "No, no, you don't call him. He's got Richard's number because I'm his PA. And all what you're saying, Dr. Voice, is true. We hear him, and sometimes we have to have a meeting after to try and work out what he wanted, what he said. So he could really do with your voice work." And I said, "Wow, right, great." And then she said this, "But you try and tell him." And it's true, because people have made it such a success of their life with what they have got. Why do they need to do anything more? Kylie Minogue, this horrible tin pin whistle voice, in a nasal, doesn't go any further. I could work with her and make her sound like Barbara Streisand in a year. I could really transform her voice. But why should she? She's made 70 million, is a big star from this tin pin whistle voice. She's not going to bother with that. So everybody's where they are because they want to be, and that's fine. But if you want to know who you really are, there's this extraordinary power sitting inside you in your sound, driven by your breath. And that's what's available in this life if we want it, if we want to wake up to who we are. And it's funny because everybody, you know, is doing what they do because everybody else has done it before. It's all been done before.
I'm
We
feeling
all
like you're
do.
I'm feeling like you're a secret weapon in the nicest possible way, Doc, because for our audience who are all making a priority of up-leveling their lives and going out and doing great things in the world, they know how important certain things are, like habits and lifestyle and nutrition and exercise and connection and that sort of thing. But nobody's said until now, which is why the House of Preeminence is bringing you forward, how key this is to not just showing up in the world as your best possible you, because that's what you're saying. The real you is the best possible you.
Yes.
How much more effective you can be by that connection with yourself and using the tool of your voice. So this is something that, like, everybody should know this. Children should be taught this.
When I was at the schools, I was doing it at the schools, you know, and um, and I worked in a prison once where the children, they'd done some nasty things from the ages of 14 up to 18. Some of them were murderers, paedophiles, all sorts. And when I was in the classroom, I thought, because language is powerful, but you can't control your language until you control your tongue. And your tongue is attached to the sound in you. So when you control your sound in your tongue, then the language is carefully thought out. Then you're speaking from a real place. So I'm in the class, I'm standing there, and I thought, well, let's get language going with these guys, if nothing else. So I said, come on, guys, I want you to call out a negative word, please. And all these little prisoners, fed up, okay. Hate, hate. Angry, angry. And I write that on the board. Destruction, destruction. Come on, any more negative words? Death, death. Okay, and I was putting all this on the wall. And the energy in the room changed. And a fight ensued between these two kids. And the guy who's running the room with me, he was all worried, he stopped it, and then we got back to normal. I said, sit down again. Okay, I'm just doing a test on you today. Let's start again, please. Because it took a long while to turn their minds around to come back in the light of it was a big job. And I got them now to think positive words, please. Come on. And I said, come on, positive words. All right, one guy went, amazing. I said, amazing, right. Incredible, incredible, right. Beautiful, beautiful, good. And all these positive words come on. And this one little boy at 15, he leant forward with his little foot, come up in the air, he walked forward, he went, wonderful. And when he went like that, wonderful, the whole room went into fits of laughter. It was so funny. This little boy at the front, wonderful. And at the end of that lesson, I was there for 5 years. At the end of that lesson, for the first time in 5 years of me teaching in that prison, it touches me now. Each boy came up to me and hugged me on the way out. Good lesson, Doc. And as they walk down the hallway, you hear them go, wonderful. Taking the mick of that guy. And a month later, in the cells, you hear, wonderful, still doing it over this kid. The effect of language. That's what I learned there. How powerful language is too. So these elements, our language, our voice, our persona, our feeling, to feel everything. Be with the feeling. This is the most important thing you have. This is the connective tissue that makes us human. Kindness, heartfelt kindness comes from that in a very natural, beautiful way. And this we all need in our life. And if we can teach this more, if we can avail this more to the planet, to each other, all the time, effectively. I can't tell you how many times I've been to meetings and people stand up and they talk, but I have no idea what they were talking about. What was this about? What did we come here for? And I'm sitting there because no one is, and it might have been a really powerful, brilliant message, but we didn't get it. Because the person was like, right, anyway, so here we go then. Now, one of the things I wanted to share with you, and it's like, oh my God. It's like watching Daniel Craig coming on the stage at the bigger Academy Award winners. Ladies and gentlemen, James Bond. Da-dum, da-dum, ba-da-dum. Walks on, he picks the mic up. Da-da, da-da. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I've come up to pick this award, and I thought, wheeling, I think, that's not James Bond, that's Squeaky Bond. What's going on? So the voice immediately tells us who we are, connects you, makes you feel something. And that's the important thing I think that's missing in humanity today. You asked me a question earlier, what is the one thing I would like to share with people? And that is, please, just that the world in some way that we can all come together and just wake up. Just be awake to the fact we're in a body, with the fact we're here, How often do we sit there and look at our hands and say, oh, I'm here, look, this is me. Oh, I'm breathing. You know, this is a phenomenon. This is a miracle. And if we can't love and enjoy that, this is when we get numb. Oh, I've just killed someone. Numbness. We don't want to be numb. And a lot of us are numbing ourselves, unfortunately. So there we have it. I've run dry.
Phenomenal.
I could
Absolutely
go on
phenomenal.
again.
Phenomenal. Yes, what needed to be said was exactly that. And many of our watchers will understand and appreciate the consequences of your message and your teaching, because so many of our audience are conscious.
Yes.
Well, they say they are anyway, but I mean, we are all aspiring to consciousness and presence, but and so many of us are all exploring the world of frequency and vibration and manifestation and self-realization, and this is feeling like it's a missing link.
Yes, it's a tool. It's a tool we're not using enough of. It's a tool we're not using enough of.
So Doc, what could you share with us for people who want to start connecting with their voice?
Well, there's many things you can do. I would say there's lots of different techniques. I can make available with you some techniques that you could put out across the platform that people can do. A simple, basic technique which will help a person feel more present in their sound. I don't mind doing that. The only problem sometimes with that, people don't get it or don't understand it, so because you need to show them something, and when you show them something, they see it. I get it. So sometimes it's a bit like that, but I don't know. Maybe it's something I could do later on for you, or come on a screen and do that. But I'd say most important thing is to stay conscious to your sound with your breath. That will bring you in the moment. You know, when you learn, look what I did then. When you learn, I spent time on a word. That's all. I spent time on a word. When you learn, and it went, it had a lilt. When you learn how to be in the moment, in the moment. You see, words serve like this at being conscious. I'm being conscious of my sound. People feel it more. And people can learn that from me. That's a bigger job. That's something that I do in what I call the immersion days. Or I've got what I call these 2-hour induction courses where people can come on for 2 hours, and I'll tune them into who they really are a little bit, so they get to understand at least a doorway that they can go through. And then if they want to work more extensively with me, I've got a program where I can take them down that path. I'm looking at doing an online program at some point due to this COVID, and I'm also looking at doing a book. I'm sort of started my book. I've got a long way to go, but it's called Journey to the Voice. And so there's a lot of things in there which will be useful at some point too. So yeah, that's the best I can offer. And people can get hold of me on my website, and who want to take this further and want to learn any more about themselves with their voice.
Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you
for sharing this wisdom. I'm still emotional. I feel completely connected and very vulnerable actually as well. So this is
You're a
just
big part, sweetheart.
such beautiful work you're doing. Just look at me, I'm just like I'm a mess. Just like this is just such beautiful work. That's why it's touching me, is because it's just such beautiful work and so important and so needed. And I always want to share this most special wisdom with my audience, and for everybody to keep growing. So I would love to bring you back at some point, Doc, and see if we can explore doing a group, virtual
Muck around, yeah.
something or other. So, but for now, thank you so much. This has just been really phenomenal.
Very pleasurable. Thank you.
Magical. Just gorgeous.
Thank you.
You are wonderful.
Thank you. It's lovely to hear you. Thank you very much. And thank everybody for being patient to listen to all this, because it takes a bit of work to listen, doesn't it? Thank you.